Peyton Watson. Peyton Watson.
Yeah.
Guy we talked about last week that I said, hey, could he maybe be this year's Devon Reed that you better hope Michael Malone gives him playoff minutes, or is he just going to have to like sit on the exemption roster and not be able to dress for the playoffs? Like, I like what I saw from him, considering how much that we get frustrated by the bench. Look, who are the best bench players? Christian Brown, Bruce Brown. What do you have after that that's consistent?
Right.
Nobody. Reggie's not doing it. So you know what? Like, why not? I get he's a young guy. But you know what? Like, his length and his athleticism and the things that he does, especially on the defensive side of the ball that we saw, let Peyton Watson fly, coach. Now it's going to be one of those situations, though. Danny, I'm eager for your thoughts. If Michael Malone wants to have a good maybe projection in terms of the bench production in the playoffs, don't you think Peyton Watson probably deserves a shot at that, considering we've seen stretches of the bench as is, and the only two guys that are really consistent is CB and Bruce?
And you add that defensive energy, because it's not just like him streaking for a nice little cut to get himself an easy dunk now and then, going up and getting offensive rebounds, which is something they still need to do better. But having that youthful energy in there between him and Christian Brown, it makes a huge difference, because the whole game feeds off of success at the defensive end. So you saw it when Michael Porter Jr. started to get hot. He was having he'd have a good play at the defensive end, come down, hit a shot in rhythm, pure. So yeah, it's to have guys that'll play hard on both ends of the floor. That's exactly what Michael Malone wants. So I don't see how you don't have Peyton Watson be a part of this playoff rotation.
Well, and as Mile High Sports' Sean Drotar put it last night in the recap of the game, I mean, this is the second straight time that Watson has delivered after getting significant minutes. He's only 20 years old, but he scored 5 points, 5 points, 5 rebounds, a pair of blocks. Obviously, they win the game against Phoenix in that one, and then last night he follows it up with another strong performance. Defensively, though, is where he's making the impact. And the question I have, I'm sitting here like scratching my head, why did it take 77 games to get this guy some significant run, knowing the bench has been as big of an issue as it has been all year?
He was developing. He's a young guy. He's developing, and he's done a really good job. And I think, that's obviously another guy you got to give credit for Calvin Booth. So if I'm Calvin, you know what I'm saying? Michael, got to get Peyton Watson some minutes in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because here's what I worry about as a diehard Nuggets fan. Okay, that's what I am. I'm not a Nuggets media member. I'm a diehard Nuggets fan. What I worry about is maybe Michael Malone saying, okay, well, he's played well for us for 2 games, but, he's a young guy. Playoffs are a big moment, yada, yada. We can't put him out there just because he's too young. Like, I don't agree with that. I understand the hesitancy to do that. I just don't agree with it. I think you need to invest in your young guys. Feed off of it. Like CB. We were just talking about Boss Man. CB may not have, there might be nights where he's not in a rhythm as a shooter, right? But defensively, he is like, I can't even say it on air. He's like a fly on you-know-what. And he's a pest, and he makes it harder for offensive players to get what they want. We've seen different switch-ups, too. We even saw Peyton Watson playing a little bit against Kevin Durant, against Phoenix, a few nights ago. We were sitting down drinking some beer at Hooters. So, for me,
and we saw Christian Brown against Giannis.
Yeah.
Love it. And so it's like you got these young guys that aren't afraid of the moment so far. No, think about it. Think about
into the belly of the beast.
Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson. You tell me you're a 20-year-old kid and that doesn't make you want to piss down your leg. It didn't for Peyton Watson, but for other guys, they're like, oh God, that's Steph, that's Klay, and he had a great block on Curry.
They didn't blink.
He's not scared of it.
They rose to the occasion, which to me is impressive. And now let's have the discussion of, obviously, if they win against Houston here in their next game, then they're going to clinch the number 1 seed in the Western Conference.
Number 1.
But, regardless, whenever that happens, they're not going to blow it. We wouldn't think against Houston. You're going to see Peyton Watson down the stretch in these last 4 or 5 games here for the Denver Nuggets when it's all said and done.
Yes.
But why, and I understand maybe limited experience, why would you hold him back from playing, I'm not saying playing him 15, 20 minutes in the postseason, but what Peyton Watson brings to the table is something that nobody else has on a consistent basis on that bench unit. Length, athleticism, and defensive ability. Buy-in,
and the ability to score.
And that's the thing is, I forget who I was talking about. I think it was Blackburn earlier today. if you have to play Peyton Watson for, say, a 7 to 8 minute stretch in the postseason, you're not asking him to be a playmaker.
No.
In the sense of run the offense, run this, run that. You're asking him to buy in on defense. What have you and I talked about over the last 2 months as it pertains to the Denver Nuggets bench? It's not about being a net plus. It's about not being a net negative and turning to the bench with a double-digit lead and coming back with a 2-point lead.
Exactly.
You just need to be neutral. And I think Peyton Watson can be a stabilizer on the defensive side of the ball for the Denver Nuggets in the postseason. And the reality situation is, Cody, age is just a number. We know that Michael Malone, has a lot of hesitation with playing young guys. He trusted Bones Highland, more so because he had to a couple years ago. It paid off. He's trusted Christian Brown this year. It has paid off.
Yeah.
Christian Brown is going to play significant minutes, we believe, in the postseason. Why not trust Peyton Watson? And I understand maybe the length or the playing experience isn't there, but we're talking about a guy that is balled out in the G League and a guy that is willing, able, and ready to lock in on defense, which Denver desperately needs. And quite frankly, Cody, if they want to contend for an NBA final, they're going to need young, spry guys that will take on the opponent's best team or their best bench player whenever duty calls.
100% too. And like, imagine if Denver does win a championship and they have these young guys. You know what that does? It creates excitement because they're young, but also furthers development. And you have guys that, are young that have been in those big moments, right? Because I think the biggest fear a lot of coaches have is, well, I don't have players who've been in big moments before. I don't have players who can rise up to the occasion. They have that fear about that. I think with the team that Denver has, with some of the vets that they do have, you could do it. You could make things happen. And, I think we're also we also have the dilemma, is DeAndre Jordan going to be getting more minutes now in the postseason when Jokic comes out? Or because Thomas Bryant, man, he struggled.
I think what you'll see them do as well is in the playoffs you go small. So you'll see Aaron Gordon get some backup 5 minutes.
I need AG to get back on track on offense.
Yeah, same with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
Yeah.
I think to summarize the Peyton Watson conversation, though, you got to give credit where credit is due, Cody, because he's made a lot with a little bit of opportunity that he's been given. He's been balling out in the G League for a while now. But, kind of thrown into the fire due to some injuries to Jokic, being down the stretch, the 1 seed, getting guys rest, whatever it might be. Yeah. And he's risen to the occasion. And, I mean, you're talking about back-to-back games against respectable playoff caliber opponents in Golden State and New Orleans.